Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one Toshi. I know it's been a hot minute. Do not forget, I did not forget about the beloved Toshi. Listen, some big news came out a couple of days ago. We can see new listing Toshi on Bitvavo. And guess what? If we look at them, the largest Euro spot exchange globally. Buy, sell, and store over 400 digital assets. Okay? Listen, it is the largest Euro spot exchange. And that is true. I remember making a video on Zbeck about this when they got listed there too. And this is actually very big news. And the fact that we're also getting exposure from Europe is also very nice, right? We can see there's a lot of hype in here for the most part. Now, someone said this. Those listings are useless. They're garbage. Toshi seems is playing with your money, pumping the price multiple times only to let it crash in less than 24 hours. What's the point of doing that? Once again, low IQ statements, people. Listen, the truth is we knew, for example, that price was going to come down. Okay. If you've been watching Toshi videos for some time, or on my channel at least, we talked about how we were consistently in this type of column, right? In this type of channel where we were consistently making higher and higher bottoms, right? Higher and higher lows, right? So we can see every time we pulled back, we never went as back as we were going previous times because there was a lot of demand. But then we can see, right? We talked about this before, that I wasn't the biggest fan of these weekly candle closes, and I was saying that Toshi is gonna come down crashing. Now, some people weren't happy, but all I can say is I told you so. Now, yes, I know that sounds very mean, but sometimes people have to learn the hard way because everyone thinks they're an expert, but the reality is there's a reason why only 3% of people win in these markets, right? So we talked about how we were expecting the break of structure, and we were talking about how if we actually looked at it from a monthly standpoint, the main big zone we were looking at, right, was this zone actually around the 150 million market cap, which we are currently at right now, right? The reason why we talked about this is because, right, we have this huge monthly order block that we expected to get filled, and also in terms of pure support and resistance on the monthly, we are here multiple times, right? One over here, there's 2 times here. I mean, another wick, and I mean now, right? So, but before we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 wicks and a lot of structure in between. Even when we went on something like the weekly, right, we can see there's always some type of tap-ins and retests off around the 150 million market cap zone. So we did say if you do want to just swing in blind, right? If you do want to just swing in blind and buy in around 150 million market cap, you are looking at a pretty good deal. And you actually could have got it, right? Because we went even down to 147 million market cap. Okay, so what's next for Toshi though? For me, when I'm looking at Toshi, I still don't see too much bullish price action, right? The price action is still fairly weak. I said this before and I'll say it again, never a big fan of trend lines that go like this, right? They always break inevitably. So for me, this just seems personally, in my opinion, that we are going to break to the downside. That's what I think, and that's what I personally believe. Just because also the Bitcoin's a little bit bearish. Now, here's the deal, people. We are in December. December is going to be generally a slower month, right? So the fact that it's a slower month, there may not be like the biggest moves happening. Although last time, the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021, there was still a lot of momentum. So sometimes there are anomaly times, but overall, December is usually much slower. When we go and look at something like the weekly, personally, in my opinion, we don't see any reversal signs just yet. Like I said, the momentum is slowing down. A couple weeks ago, we had kind of like this sideways type of candle where the weekly candle wasn't that, impressive in terms of selling. Then next week we failed to go up, very, very little buying pressure that actually stayed. We can see we opened the weekly at 169 million market cap and we ended at 169 million and a half, and we were at one point at 192 million. So we can see, we didn't, the buying pressure did not live very long, right? It was very, very short lived. The selling pressure though is also kind of the same, right? Like we're just kind of stuck in this zone. But overall, if I'm looking at something, I'm looking at the weekly zones, I'm looking at this weekly order block. If I'm looking for a sniper entry, I'm looking at the 125 million market cap zone. Now remember, these are zones, these are high probability zones of seeing some type of reversals, but it doesn't mean it's an automatic confirmation, right? You have to remember that just because it's a high probability zone, that doesn't mean we're automatically going to reverse. But we can see in the past, right? If you were to enter off of these zones, you would be chilling, right? You would be chilling. If you entered blindly, if you entered blindly here, right? If you entered blindly, off of this zone, right? You would have been chilling. Like it would have been looking really, really good. Same thing with this right here, right? If you would have entered blindly off of these weekly order blocks, you would have been, like I said, chilling. You would have been having a great dollar cost average. You would have even been having some sniper entries without even looking at technical analysis too much. So that's why, I believe there is a high probability of us reversing. If we go down a little bit lower, probably down to the 130 million, 125 million. But yeah, we go and look at something like the monthly once again. Like I did say, we are at the monthly order block. We could go down a little bit more. Now, overall, I'm still very, very bullish on Toshi. Despite what people think now, I still believe Toshi has a big run up coming. We can see if we take it from the top to the bottom like this, and we go look at even the Fibonacci, right? Something that I like to look at is a 2.6 to 3.6 zone. So the next big power move could very, very well be, oops, sorry, I did not mean to do that. Like they correct this like this. There we go. There we go. Like that. So the next power move is going to be the 2.6 to 3.6. So, that would be roughly, when we're looking at it, go something like this. This is a rough estimate. This is not literally the exact point, but we could be looking upwards of 20x, 17, 18, 20x for the 3.2 billion market cap zone. The question is, are we going to hit there? Are we going to go higher? You know me, I believe Toshi in its peak will be hitting upwards of 10 billion market cap. Remember, that is its peak, right? That is its peak. That doesn't mean it's going to stay there for days, even hours. That might just stay there for 30 minutes. So I do believe 10 billion is possible, especially if we do get a base meta, especially if we do see the most powerful altcoin season ever. And yeah, right now we're ranked 175 out of 9,023 active cryptos. We see we're 167 million market cap, 16 million volume. Over the last month, we have gone down 22%. In the last week, we have gone up 10%. And in the last day, we have gone down 33.3%. We're still on Coinbase. We're not on Binance yet, but I do believe Binance is going to be listing us sooner than later, in my personal opinion. And yeah, super, super optimistic about Toshi. 20x from here is, in my opinion, very, very plausible. And I think we can even be hitting upwards of 60x. I know that sounds crazy because of the multipliers, but you have to remember, a 60x would be roughly like 9 billion market cap or something like that. So not impossible. And to be honest, I'm very, very optimistic about Toshi. That is it though, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.